The city was still wrapped in darkness, a quiet, peaceful stillness that came just before dawn. Inside his vast mansion, the billionaire began his day with the same strict discipline he always did. Every morning was planned to the minute. Strong coffee, his office ready, everything in perfect order. But on this particular morning, as he walked down the grand marble hallway, something was different. He saw his maid moving quietly through the kitchen, her footsteps a familiar, comforting sound on the polished floors. But then, something caught his eye. There were marks on her arms, faint but unmistakable. He froze, thinking he might be imagining things. But no, they were definitely their small bruises, pale in the soft morning light. A cold wave of concern washed over him. He had always known his staff to be reliable, but he'd never seen anything like this. The woman, usually cheerful, now seemed tense and guarded. Her hands trembled slightly as she arranged the dishes, and she kept her eyes fixed on the floor, avoiding his gaze. Her body language screamed that this was no small accident. It felt heavier, more serious. The billionaire took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. He knew wealth could create walls between people, but seeing her vulnerability made him realize how little he truly knew about the lives of those who worked for him. He felt a mix of shock, concern, and an urgent need to act. He wanted to ask what happened right away, but he didn't want to frighten her. He watched her more closely, noticing the subtle details, the way she flinched when carrying a heavy tray, the small wince when she touched her arm. These weren't signs of carelessness. They were signs that something was deeply wrong. The usual morning calm was gone, replaced by a thick tension. He could almost feel the weight of her struggle. He considered calling an assistant to handle the situation, but decided against it. This was his home, his responsibility. He couldn't just ignore what he was seeing. Slowly, he walked closer, careful not to startle her. He kept his voice steady and soft. "Are you okay?" he asked, the simple words carrying genuine worry. She froze, her hands tightening around the tray. For a moment, he thought she might break down, but she held her ground, trying to maintain her composure. He realized then that there was a story behind those marks, a story she had been carrying in silence. And in that moment, he understood that wealth could never shield him from the reality of human suffering, even within his own home. The early sun began to cast a golden glow through the windows, but the room still felt heavy with uncertainty. He saw her tension, her nervous movements, her attempts to act normal. But those marks told a story he could not ignore, a story of struggle, pain, and fear. For the first time in a long time, the billionaire felt a different kind of vulnerability. Not of money or power, but of empathy. This wasn't about observing from a distance. It was about acting, understanding, and helping. The morning that had started like any other had suddenly taken a turn, and he knew the events about to unfold would change the atmosphere of his mansion forever. In that quiet, tense moment, he knew one thing clearly. This was no ordinary morning, and it was up to him to respond. The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Mr. Harrison's penthouse, glinting off the polished marble floors. I was on my hands and knees, scrubbing a stubborn scuff mark, when his voice, usually a low rumble of commands, sounded unusually soft behind me. "Alina," he said. I froze, expecting a complaint. Instead, he asked, "Is your son feeling any better?" I looked up, completely stunned. I had never mentioned my son Leo to him. How did he know? I stammered, He's still got a high fever." Sir, Mr. Harrison was a man who commanded boardrooms and moved markets with a single phone call. He lived in a world of numbers and stock prices, a world far removed from my own worries about a child's fever. He simply nodded, his face unreadable, and walked over to his mahogany desk. I assumed the moment had passed, a strange, fleeting curiosity. I went back to scrubbing, my mind racing. Had I mentioned Leo to another staff member? Did his personal assistant overhear a phone call? A few hours later, as I was dusting the vast library, Mr. Harrison's assistant, a prim woman named Ms. Albright, approached me. She held a crisp, white envelope. "Mr. Harrison asked me to give you this," she said, her tone neutral. My heart sank. Was I being fired? Did I miss a spot? My hands trembled as I took the envelope. Inside wasn't a termination letter. It was a check, and the number of zeros made my breath catch in my throat. Attached was a small, handwritten note. "For Leo, Dr. Evans is the best pediatrician in the city. His contact is on the back. Take as much time as you need." Tears welled up in my eyes. I looked across the room at Mr. Harrison, who was on the phone, his back to me. He seemed as distant and powerful as ever. But in that moment, I saw something else. I saw a kindness he kept hidden behind his billion-dollar empire. The next day, I took Leo to see Dr. Evans. He diagnosed a rare but treatable infection that our local clinic had missed. Thanks to that early expert intervention, Leo made a full recovery within a few weeks. When I returned to work, I found Mr. Harrison in his study, staring out at the city skyline. I wanted to thank him, to pour out my heart and tell him how he'd saved my son's life, but the words felt inadequate. I simply said, "Mr. Harrison, thank you for everything." He turned, and for the first time, I saw a genuine, warm smile on his face. He didn't say a word. He just nodded, a silent acknowledgement that passed between two people from entirely different worlds. I learned something important that day. We often see wealthy people as figures on a screen, defined by their money and power. We forget they are human, with the capacity for immense compassion. Mr. Harrison never mentioned it again. To him, it might have been a small gesture, a simple solution to a problem. But to me, it was everything. It was a lifeline. It showed me that empathy isn't about status or wealth. It's a choice. And sometimes, the most powerful people are the ones who choose to see the humanity in everyone, even the women scrubbing their floors. Thank you for watching, and remember to look for the kindness in unexpected places. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Wind of the morning had settled, the billionaire found a quiet moment to reflect. The mansion, once a place of strict routines and measured discipline, now felt different. There was an unusual calmness in the air, a subtle shift in energy. The events of the morning, the discovery of the maid's marks, her confession, and his own unexpected reaction had left a mark not just on him, but on everyone in the household. He realized that wealth, while powerful, was meaningless without responsibility, empathy, and the courage to act when it mattered most. He sat in his study, looking out over the sprawling gardens bathed in afternoon sunlight, thinking about the maid. Despite the comforts and luxuries of his life, she had endured pain in silence, hidden away behind loyalty and fear. It struck him how easy it was to overlook the struggles of those who serve quietly, working behind the scenes, supporting lives of privilege they would never openly be a part of. Her bravery in finally speaking up had forced him to confront his own perceptions and assumptions. The billionaire decided that his reaction couldn't end with just one act of kindness. He needed to create a lasting change, not only for her, but for everyone in his home. He began making plans to implement stronger support systems for his staff. There would be better access to healthcare, regular counseling services, and confidential channels for anyone experiencing difficulties, abuse, or stress. He wanted to ensure that no one else would ever feel the fear and isolation that his maid had endured. Meanwhile, the maid began to recover, not just physically, but emotionally. The fear that had gripped her for so long began to ease, replaced with a sense of safety and trust. She had finally been seen, not as an employee, but as a human being, deserving of care and protection. Her confidence slowly returned, and with it, a quiet determination to live without hiding from her past struggles. Her bond with the billionaire strengthened, rooted not in hierarchy, but in mutual respect and humanity. As days passed, the staff noticed the changes in the mansion. The billionaire's demeanor had shifted subtly but unmistakably. He spent more time engaging with his employees, listening to their concerns and offering support where needed. Small gestures, like personally checking on a sick worker or ensuring meal breaks were respected, began to reflect his commitment to their well-being. His actions inspired respect, not fear, and created a sense of community within the household that had never existed before. Beyond the walls of his home, the story spread quietly among friends, business partners, and associates. People were surprised, some even skeptically about his reaction. A billionaire, known for power, wealth, and discipline, had chosen compassion over indifference, action over convenience. It was a reminder to everyone who knew him that true strength is not just measured in money or influence, but in how one treats those who are vulnerable, unseen, or voiceless. The incident also left a lasting impression on the billionaire himself. He realized that leadership, at its core, was not about control or dominance, but about empathy, responsibility, and the courage to do what is right, even when it is uncomfortable. He understood that wealth could be a tool to protect and empower others, and that ignoring human suffering, even indirectly, was a failure of character he could no longer tolerate. By the time evening fell, the mansion felt transformed. It wasn't just the staff who noticed the difference. The air itself seemed lighter, filled with a quiet optimism. The morning's shocking discovery had led to a chain of events that reshaped relationships, redefined priorities, and left a lasting legacy of compassion. It was a story of pain, courage, and ultimately, change, a reminder that even in a world dominated by wealth and luxury, true humanity always finds a way to shine. The billionaire looked around his home, a small, satisfied smile forming on his face. The marks he had seen that morning were no longer just symbols of pain. They had become a catalyst for understanding, action, and transformation. And in that realization, he found a sense of fulfillment far greater than any material possession could ever provide.